All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. I've been going through a series of presentations creating a simple BMI or body mass index calculator, and I've done this to go through most of the different programming languages that are taught here at Rankin Technical College. So far I have created the BMI application using JavaScript, jQuery, C# using a console, C# in a GUI, ASP.NET, and Java. Now I'm going to do a product that's called App Inventor 2. Now, the interesting thing about App Inventor 2 is, first of all, I've never taught it in a classroom environment, but I did teach it this summer, the summer of 2017, to a group of middle school students who caught on unbelievably quickly, and one of the projects we created in there was a BMI project. The neat thing about using App Inventor 2 is you don't write any code. And if you say, I don't know what you mean, I'm going to show you in just a moment. So this is the 7th presentation or 7th series of presentations out of 8. And when you get into App Inventor 2, all right, you come here and you click, so you go out to here. Put a bunch of URLs out here so you can see what I'm doing. So you go out right there, bump that up in size, to, you don't need the HTTP, so if you just type in appinventor.mit.edu, that brings you to the page right here. Then you click the Create Apps button. When you do, you have to log in, and you have to log in using a Gmail account. Also, just so you know, this particular product does not work. All right, it does not work with Internet Explorer. This is the product that we built as a class, and it's the same one that I'm going to show you. But what I'd like to do is run it for you so you can see what happens. Now I have to start an AI starter file, which is what I'm going to do right now. So that literally is like a batch file that runs in the background. Then once that comes up and I've got my program up here and loaded, I'm going to connect. And since I don't have an Android device with me, I'm going to do a connect, and I'm going to say reset the connection and then connect to the emulator. Now this can take anywhere from 30 seconds to about 5 minutes. All right, so you have to be patient while it loads up. The emulator is actually the slowest way of doing this. So as it says here, it might take a minute or two, and it actually may end up taking more time than that. All right, so I'm going to pause while that is loading up. All right, so as I mentioned, here is the finished product. So hopefully now the emulator is up and running. So there it is, run it for you so you can see what happens. So again, I put in 72 for the height, 111 for the weight, calculate, click done, and notice you're underweight. Run it again and change that to 177 pounds, done, calculate, and you're of optimal weight. Run it one more time, put in 333, calculate, and you're overweight. So you can see how it works. This is an emulator that's basically running what's on the screen here. All right, and it works much slicker if you have either an Android phone or an Android tablet, and you can hook it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to rewrite this entire program so you can see what it looks like. All right, so I'm going to minimize my emulator. I'm going to come into Projects, Start New Project. I'm going to call this new project Jeff BMI. You can't put any blank spaces in there, and I know I don't have anything called Jeff BMI, so I'm going to click OK. And what you see right here is your design window. There's a design view and there's a blocks view where you actually put your code in. The design window is broken up into several different areas. This is the palette area, kind of like a toolbox that you have in other packages. So you drag your tools over to here and you'll see that in a minute. This is your viewer area that holds basically the way that the screen will look or your app will look. This is your components area, which has every one of the components that's in here. Currently I have just the screen, and these are the properties. So that's like your properties window. So I'm going to start, if you remember what it looked like. All right, and I guess what I should do is mention first that there is an online book that is available if you ever decide you'd like to learn App Inventor 2 yourselves. That's right there. It's at http:// really just appinventor.org/book2. It's really nice. I've actually bought the hard copy of it, which looks, as you can see, just like that. This is what you'll see in a minute. This whole thing is like putting a puzzle together. But there are 24 chapters in that book, and there's probably about 15 or 16 apps that you create during those 24 chapters. All right, so let me do this. Let me go back, and I'm going to again go into projects, my projects. I'm going to bring up my BMI calculator. I'm going to take a picture of it. All right, I'm going to go into Paint. I oftentimes do this. So I'm going to go into Paint. And I'm going to paste that in, but then I want to just grab out the area that I need here. So all right, so what I did was I went out and brought up my former project, the one I created earlier. And now I'm going to go in and do another my projects, and bring up Jeff BMI, which has nothing in it. All right, now there's nothing special I have to do to get started, but I will mention that this is your screen. You cannot change the name of that. Notice there's a rename, but it's grayed out. You cannot change the name, but I can change what goes up here in my title. So I'll change that to BMI calculator. All right. And you'll see that it's changed up here also. Now, for some reason, something is running. Got a bunch of stuff open. I guess I'm an eclectic person. I'm doing all sorts of different things right now, so don't know what it is, but hopefully it turned off. All right, so I've started this. First thing I'm going to do is to add a label up on top. So I'm going to drag a label out here. All right, and the first thing I want to do is I want to set the width to fill parent, so you can see what happened when I did that. I'm also going to make it bold. I'm going to make the font size, I don't know, about 20 points. And I'm going to center it on the screen so you can see a lot of this is just clicking stuff. And let's see, I will change the background color. Let's make it green. All right, let's change the font color. And let's make it white. That's a little too, how about gold, yellow? There we go. That's not too bad. That's still a little hard to see though. What if we reverse that? What if we made the text color green and we made the background color yellow? I don't know if I made it better or not, but that's what we're going to use. All right, and I'm going to change the text on there from text to label 1 to BMI calculator. All right, BMI calculator. There. Okay. All right. Okay, so that's the first thing. Then I need a couple more things, but I wanna put a a label and a text box, a label and a text box. So to do that, I create All right, so we now have that label, but I'm going to come in here now and create what's called a layout. And I'm going to actually put in two horizontal layouts right here. Okay, and the first thing I want to do for both of them is to set the width to fill the parent. So you can see what those have done. Then, for each one of them, they're going to look the same. One is going to hold the height and one is going to hold the weight. So I go back to my user interface, I grab a label, put it out there, that'll hold the height. Grab another label, put it out there, that'll hold the weight. All right. Then after those, I want to put a text box here, and I want to put a text box here. Now it looks pretty ugly right now. It'll look a little nicer, hopefully at least, as we go on. So let's go in here.
Saw you in there. I got that.
Okay, so remember, this is what we want. I'm changing it around a little as far as the way it looks. It's not that big a thing. I'm just playing with the colors and stuff. I get a little bored sometimes doing this, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to change the width of this, and I'm going to make it, I'm going to say 33%. So it takes up a third of the screen. And this one as well, I'm going to make the width 33%. And on this one, I'm going to take the label and I'm going to try to make the width of the label. That's what I want there, the width. I'm going to try to make that about 66%. And the width on this label, I'm going to also make about 66%. All right, it's already coming into focus as far as the way I want it to look and the like. So I'm going to again make this about 20-point font. And again, we'll bold it. And I'll put in here for text, height. All right, why don't we right justify this? We can center justify it. Probably look okay like that. And then let's do the same kind of thing. So we'll make the text color yellow, and we'll make the background color green. So we're just reversing it from what we had before. All right, and I'll do the same thing here. This will now say weight, colon. It'll again be centered. It'll again have a text color that's yellow. It'll again have a background color that's green. All right, we will again make it 20-point font and bold. So they look pretty much the same right now. That's about the way I want it to look. All right, one thing I should do is change the names of all these because those are terrible names. All right, so this right here is called BMI underscore. I guess I renamed that before accidentally. So we're going to change the name of that to label title. All right. This will become label height. This will become text box height. All right, so this is all set, but we've got to finish our renaming. So we got text box height, and then here this will become label weight. And you should probably guess text box weight. Then we're going to add another one of these horizontal arrangements. And underneath there, we're going to put in two buttons. In fact, let's go to the horizontal arrangement and make it the width of the parent. There's our first button. And then we want to add a second button in here. All right, I'm going to take each button and set its width to about 48%. You're best off not setting it to 50 because then you actually get a little, what looks like a little bit of overflow. So I keep it around there. All right. We will set the font size. Let's make it a little bigger. So we'll make it 16 and bold. And this one will say for the text. This one will say calculate. And let's rename it right away to button calculate. And this one we'll rename right away to button clear. And as you can guess, then it'll say clear. We'll again set the font size to 16, bolded. That's looking pretty good. All right, I need one more label underneath here. I'm going to make it the same color as the one on the top. So I don't need any layout for this. Just grab a label, throw it in there. All right, the width, we're going to again make fill parent. All right, we're again going to bold it, make it 20 points. All right, we're not going to put any text in there, so it's going to look a little funny for right now. But before we do that, let's set the background color to yellow. Let's set the text color to green, just like we had before. All right, we won't worry about centering it or anything else. That should be fine. All right, so we've got all that. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to remove the text. So when we do that, notice how small it gets. So I'm going to set the height, and I'm going to set it in pixels. Let's try 100. I don't know if that's too big or not. It's too big. How about 40? That's pretty good. All right, so that's where we're going to put our result. So let's rename that label result. It's still a little bit big, so I'm going to cut it down to 35 pixels. That's pretty good. Finally, we want to put an image in here that's going to hold the picture of the underweight, overweight, etc. type of person. So I'm going to put the image right there. And I want that image to have a height that fills the parent. I want it to take up the rest of the screen, and a width that fills the parent. All right. And since we call that label result, let's call this image result. Now you can notice I've renamed everything I've got in here except those horizontal arrangements. If I want to, I can rename those also. So I can call that horizontal arrangement height, horizontal arrangement weight, and horizontal arrangement, for lack of better words, we'll just call it buttons. So now every control that I have on here has been renamed. All right. I'll also need a special kind of component that you don't see on the screen. It's called a non-visible component. That's called a notifier. So I drag it here and it appears down at the bottom here. So my interface basically right now is finished. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to put an image in there. All right. So how do I do that? Well, I'm going to upload a file. All right, but before I do that, let's go find something. Well, let's find a file that we can upload. So I'm going to go over to Google, and let's go to Google Images, and let's type in BMI calculator. And let's find one we haven't used before. So that doesn't look bad. That doesn't look bad. I kind of like this one. So I'm going to right mouse click and choose Save Image As, and I'm going to call this BMI calculator .ping, and I'm going to save that right to my desktop. All right. Then I come back to the program, and that's what I want to put in here. So first I have to upload it. So choose File from my desktop. And there it is. BMI calculator.ping, say OK. Now it's been uploaded. So I have to say that's what I want to use for my picture. There it is, OK. And now that's in there. Okay. So right now, if I were to go and look in the emulator, I have to reset because the emulator is very slow to react. So I come back in and do another connect emulator. I don't even want to do that. Connect reset connection, connect emulator. So I'll give it a second or two to catch back up. But I have now built my entire interface. I've renamed all of my controls as well. So the screen that I'm in right now is the design screen. The design screen again holds my palette, which has my different controls. It has my viewer, which shows what the GUI will look like. It has my components, which shows all of the components that are on my GUI or on my viewer, and it shows the properties for the currently active control. All right, so once this comes up and I take a quick look at it, it will not be at all functional, not at all, because I haven't programmed any of the buttons to do anything yet. I haven't written a lick of code, all right, or what acts as code in this particular package. So we're going to do that next. All right. Giving this a second to hopefully catch up. Now, one thing about the emulator on here is it's a little flitty. And sometimes, hopefully it'll come up fine here, but sometimes it doesn't, and you have to restart the whole system in the worst case. If that's the case, I would do that. You can see it pretty much is up. I don't know why it says stop this application here, but you can see that. The only thing I didn't put in is where it has these hints for text box 1 and 2. All right, so I'm going to put those in right now. So I'm going to click here, and for a hint, I'm just going to put enter 12 to 96. And for the other one, for the weight, I'm going to put in enter 1 to 777. All right. The emulator will try to redraw itself. So the point is, I am now done building my interface. One of the things about App Inventor 2 is you kind of bop back and forth quite a bit between the interface and the between your interface and your code window. So the code window is in what's called blocks. This is my blocks editor right here. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is to create 3 variables, one to hold the height, one to hold the weight, and one to hold the BMI. So I come over here to variables, and where it says that, I just drag it out here. So my first one is going to be height, but I have to give it an initial value. Okay, so I can go over to math, and I can find that 0 and just put it there. And hopefully you could hear that click. That click meant that I am putting in something that's legal, so to speak. I'm going to right mouse click and choose duplicate, which makes another one. I don't want to call that height 2. I want to call that weight. That's my second variable. And then I'm going to copy that one, do one more. And I'm going to call that one BMI. So those are my 3 variables. I've got a variable called height. I've got a variable called weight. And I've got a variable that's called BMI. Now, if you remember back from our interface, we've got a calculate button and we've got a clear button. I'm at 23 minutes, so I'm going to put in the code for that, and I'll come back with that in just a couple moments.